Number two, you want to have, like I said earlier, you want to have a plan for everything you're going to do. And soil sample wise, you shouldn't be skipping this. This is very important. Yeah, we say it's not rocket science, but there is a little bit of lab science to this. You're going to send it away, check your pH, and it's going to see what you need to amend your soil.
All right. So let's say you get a soil sample and your pH is most of the times we do soil samples, whether it's on consulting properties or such. We've seen anywhere from a 4.6 to a 5.3. So let's say your pH comes back as a 5.3 and it tells you to add 5,000 pounds of lime, okay, but your CEC is very low. Your soil, what CEC is, your soil can only hold so much. It's kind of like, say like a wall compared to a screen door. If you're adding, say, 4,000 pounds of lime to your 1 acre plot, because that's what the soil sample calls for, if you do that in one application, that soil may not be able to hold all of that lime at one time. So it's going to kind of wash through that soil like a screen door. Yeah. So a better option is, like Chris is going to talk about here, is split applications.
Split applications, what we mean by that is you're going to put enough of your fertilizer in the soil at planting, and also when you amend, you're going to add some in and incorporate it. But as Dave just said with the CEC, if you get that number, and what happens is your soil can't handle it. Maybe you have a sandy soil or something, and that stuff is your fertilizer and lime is gonna end up leaching through the soil and dissipating and be gone. So you want to have it in incorporation with your soil at all times. So there may be different, you might have to do it in halves, thirds, whatever. But yeah, get the majority of it on at planting, and then you're gonna add to it later.
Yeah, split applications are definitely a very good option for this type of setup, especially if you have a low CEC. Over time, we'll touch on this in a second, but organic matter, the higher this number the CEC gets, the more that the soil will be able to actually hold. And over time, you'll notice when you soil sample your food plots each year, the less and less of lime you'll need, the less fertility, granular fertilizer that you'll need over time as that CEC and organic matter build up.
Yeah. You may ask why pH is so important, and we're going to talk about these numbers right now. These numbers are very important because when you are purchasing your recommendations that you get back from your soil samples, if your pH is around a 5.0, studies have shown that only 50% of your fertilizer is going to be uptaked into your plants. So let's say you're spending $1,000 on your fertilizer. We're trying to save you money and help you out at this point. With a 5.0 and you spend $1,000 and only 50% is usable to your plants, you're wasting $500 that you're putting in the dirt. That's why it's so important. And Definitely. The numbers, as they climb with your pH, when you get up to higher numbers, that is more usable fertilizer that's going to be working for you, not against you, and it won't be bound up in the dirt, ready to be uptaked into the plants. So that is why pH is so important. You're just wasting money if you're not around optimal levels, which is around a 6.5, 6.7. That's what you're aiming to get at. So the lower your number is, the worse, you're just throwing your money into the dirt, basically. It's wasted.
Yeah, another tip with that, Chris, is when you have low pH, the plants can absorb those nutrients, fertility levels in the soil, which then can't give it to the deer. So when you're trying to build a deer herd and give extra nutrition to deer, it's always best to start with that soil because it's a transfer process. The soil gives it to the plants, and then the plants give it to the wildlife, and then that way the wildlife can flourish.
And that's a good point, because guys are always asking, how can I build my deer? I want bigger deer, bigger antlers. How do I grow antlers? Well, give them the best nutrition you can give them. Yeah. And giving them a 5.3 isn't the best nutrition they can have. Right. So this number has to be best as optimal as you can get it. So that's why we talk about pH a lot.
And when you get your soil sample, it's going to come and say you got a 5.3. It may say you need 4,000 pounds of lime. Well, you have pellet lime and ag lime. pellet lime was created into a pellet to be easier to spread through a regular ATV spreader, handbag spreader, whatever spreader that you have. Ag lime is powdered lime, and it requires a special spreader to spread that. Now, there's a lot of confusion out there whether ag lime, you can use less pellet lime compared to ag lime, and that's false. It's equal amounts. It's just that the pellet was created into a pellet to be easier to spread. So average out there is 2,000 pounds of lime to 1 acre will raise the point by 1, and that's a general term, but it also goes back to your CEC, organic matter of that soil. It may require, that's why when you get your sample, it may say 5,000 pounds for an acre, because the soil is so poor, it has low CEC, low organic matter, you need a lot of lime to bring that pH up. Ag lime lasts longer into the soil for many years. Pellet lime is easier to spread for the convenience factor, but it doesn't last as long in the soil.
Temporary fix.
Yeah, it's temporary fix.
I want to touch on CEC, meaning cation exchange, and now I'm going to use a different abbreviation, is CCE. Dave was talking about pelletized lime. If you read on the bag has the ingredients on it, and I'll just write that in here now, a CCE. That is your calcium carbonate equivalent. I hope I said that right, but that is your equivalent that's in your bag.
Yep.
Now, a lot of pelletized lime, a lot of those are only 80%. Okay, 80% CCE. So you're buying a bag of 50 pound of lime, or 40 pound, whatever you have locally. If it says 80%, you're not getting a 50 pound bag of pellet lime.
Right.
So you want to get these bags and look on the back and get the CCE equivalent. You want 100%. Just a little tip so you're not getting cheated.